Moonies! Welcome to the Sailor Moon Fan Club podcast. I'm your host, Victoria L. Johnson, and I'm here with multimedia content creator Lisa de la Cruz. She's the podcast host of The Wonder of Anime and owner of the anime embroidery shop, The Wonder of Anime Shop. I am super excited. I've been wanting to have her on the show for a really long time now, and I was on her show. And yeah, welcome, Lisa.
Hi, it's an honor to be here. I feel like I am the president of the Sailor Moon Fan Club
I love that.
And nobody know, I just announced that right now. Exclusive for your podcast. I am
Yes.
the president of the fan club's fan club.
Honestly, yes, own it. I love it. That's amazing. You've really been such an amazing supporter of the podcast since the beginning. I really appreciate it. And love that you're a Sailor Moon fan, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always try to I remember I saw your podcast as it was coming out. I think you hadn't even dropped an episode and I was like, yo, I love this. I immediately I love other women doing podcasts, other Black women, other women of color. So immediately I was like, oh, I'm here for it. And then I've been here for it.
Yeah, you really have. Day one, you've been here and just amazing. But yeah, so as you know, first question is, what's your first memory of watching Sailor Moon?
Ooh, this one, I feel like I vividly remember I used to live in New York and we had this, those TVs that were also furniture that was
Yes.
a box. And I just remember sitting in front of the TV and watching Sailor Moon. I don't remember an episode. I don't remember anything like that. I just remember that I know that I watched it. And then I remember specifically, my dad used to have this side job where he cleaned bingo halls. This is so specific. But afterwards, we would always go to a local Kmart, and Kmart would have all the Sailor Moon dolls. And I was like, I want this. I just remember vividly being I need these dolls in my life. And my parents were like, psych, no, you don't. But for some reason, those two memories are and I had to have been 4 or 5. And I just remember yes, this, whatever this is, I want it and I'm all here for it.
Yeah. Oh my God, you brought me back with the TV as furniture. I forgot about that. And honestly, that's a good use of space. They need to bring that back.
Right? And you would just put stuff. I remember my parents would always be like, don't put a cup on, because you don't want to spill anything on it. And looking back, I'm like, that wood was indestructible.
It really was. Nothing was breaking that.
Right.
Nothing was getting through. Now you look the wrong way at a TV and it's sorry, don't work anymore.
Yes, you just or you see those videos that go viral of people breaking TVs during a sporting thing. I'm back then you could drop the TV and it would be fine.
Yeah, it will hurt you before you hurt it.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. And what did you say? You said your dad, he did what?
He my dad was a landscaper, but he also would get random side jobs. So the side job was cleaning bingo halls, but this was I lived in Brooklyn,
okay.
And this was in Long Island. So specifically in Long Island was where the Kmart was. And we never really went to Kmart like that, except when we went to help him do that bingo cleaning job.
Gotcha. I heard bingo and I was like, is it bingo cards? Is he scratching off the I was like, what's going on? The wiping out people's names? I was like, I don't know. I was like, I need to know. But yeah, I don't know what it is. I have fond memories of Kmart and Sailor Moon too, because that's where I got my Sailor Moon movies on VHS. I think I got one at a time. They were $20 each. And I remember I went with my dad also, and I was like, oh, Sailor Moon movie. And I was like, I didn't know there was a movie, and got it. And then I think each other time, over the space of a few months, I'll be like, there's another movie. Can I get
it? They're we just got you the other movie.
Right.
And I think people now because Walmart and Target, but Kmart was that girl. Kmart was everything. Rest in peace, although there's still some around. But Kmart was a staple for so many people because it was the biggest, I guess, I forget what those type of stores are called. It was just the biggest type of those stores until Walmart and Target were psych girl, we're here.
Yeah, Walmart, for some reason, we never really went. We went to Kmart a lot. And Yeah, and had like the little Caesars. I don't know if yours had a little Caesars. We had little Caesars
Yes.
inside. Like, it was just a spot, like you said. And later on, we started going to Walmart. And then I didn't start going to Target till like later. I still rarely go to Target because I'm like, y'all a little pricey. I go here when I want to feel fancy.
I'm glad I'm not alone because I too, like, I'll go to Target, but I'm not like one of those people that like, oops, came out and spent $300. No, like, Target is my second, or if I'm looking for very specific items that are only in Target. Otherwise, I'm not. I'll go to a Walmart.
Yeah, I usually try to go to Walmart. I am the oops, I spent $100 though. Because I'm at Target, but that's just because I'm like, do that at every store.
That I listen. I have those moments where I do that too.
Yo, it's hard. It's hard. So going back to Sailor Moon, watching it. So when would you say is the second time you watched it and you were like, this is what it is, or like, you know?
I feel like when I was maybe in I remember the movie, right? Like I remember I think maybe when I was like in fifth grade, I had moved to Pennsylvania and we like that's kind of like when I was watching Inuyasha and I like fell in love with Inuyasha. And I had been watching anime, but I didn't know it was anime like Cardcaptor Sakura, Digimon, Pokemon. But when I moved, I remember going to like a thrift store and I remember getting the Sailor Moon movie in on VHS. So I remember then I would go to the library and I would like try to borrow the VHSs like as I could for Sailor Moon. But then it wasn't maybe until I was like in whoa, somebody's calling me. Until I was in maybe I would say like high school that I really like sat down and like went through and watched I think the first season. I watched up until Chibi Moon came and then I was like, okay, she's annoying me. And then I never like finished fully watching. Like I know what happens because of like I think everybody knows the story and what happens, but I like stopped my rewatch once Chibi Moon came back in the picture. And I was like, all right, girl. And I just closed my laptop.
That's understandable. That I think it's Supers, the fourth season. It's kind of hard to get through a little bit for because of Jimmy, because I'm like, oh, this is a lot of story on her.
And I think like her introduction too, like it was very abrupt, and I felt like at that part of the show, like it seems like oh, like Usagi and Mamoru, like they're good in their relationship, and then like she comes along, and you're like, these people just finally got to. He just came back, like she get her memory, and then like this second part, I think, and I do this with many shows, like many shows I've dropped because everything's good, and then it gets messed up again, and I'm like, I can't deal with this heartbreak. So I think that's the reason why it was just like after that, I was like, okay, I need to stop.
I can see that. Yeah, it is hard. I also don't like the, oh, they're good again, and oh no, this horrible thing happened, and they can't be together. And it's like, no, they just got together. They were happy. Like, why are you doing this to me?
Right.
But yeah, she definitely throws a wrench in things. But for some reason, it never bothered me, funny enough, because I don't like that either. I have to think about that.
She is very cute, though. And is it in the movie with Pegasus? Like, I was like, okay, like, I like this part of it. But in the beginning, I was just like, girl, go away.
You're messing things up. Yeah, I think I was just like, who is this person? What is going on? And then I just really like that backstory they get into and all that good stuff.
Yes.
So speaking of like, so we know which moments you don't like. What's would you say some of your favorite moments or episodes?
Ooh, I definitely think I'm trying to remember. I feel like I have like this general like I'm just like, oh my god, I love Sailor Moon, and then I think about it and I'm like, do I know anything? But definitely I would feel like a lot of that because I think it wasn't until like the first couple, maybe 10 or 15 episodes, it's just Sailor Moon, Sailor Mercury, and Sailor Mars, right? And then Venus joined later. And then, so those episodes when it was kind of like just them at the beginning, like I think those episodes were always like very fun because they're kind of just like, all right, like what are we doing? Like, we have no idea. We're kind of like figuring it out. And then I think it was funny when Sailor Venus joined because she kind of had like she'd been doing this. She was like Sailor V, like she had her whole bang together. But then, and I think too maybe like for the audience, like you would expect like a character like her to kind of be like a mean girl or like I've been doing this, girl, sit back. And she actually like fit the group so well. So I think those are some of my favorite memories. I also love the one whenever Usagi got to use that pen that she could be other people. Like those gadgets were always my favorite part of the show because I'm like, I need that pen in my life. Like I want to be different people. And I feel like often shows like they have those tools and they'll bring them for one episode and then you never see them ever again. And I feel like Sailor Moon always reused the compact mirrors. I think Mercury had like a little handheld cell phone before it was a cell phone and they could see her talking. Like those gadgets and those stuff were always like some of my favorite aspects of Sailor Moon.
Yeah, I love the gadgets too. I never even realized it until one of the guests, Ryan Lasala, I think, he talked about like Mercury having like when she presses her earrings, like glasses come up, and I was like, I didn't realize that was happening. Like that's so true. It's so cool. Yeah, and I love the Luna pen too. Like that is, I've had it on my keychain for the longest, for one set of my keys because I'm just like I want to like pretend like I have a pen that I can transform into somebody. Because yeah, that's really cool.
Right. And I think too, like a lot of, and maybe this is just me because I like love Sailor Moon, but I feel like then a lot of other shows kind of had similar like elements that followed. Like, do you remember the show Totally Spies?
Yes, I love that show.
Me too. And I feel like a lot, like whether they had not admitted or not, like they had some inspiration from Sailor Moon because they also were like gadget heavy. And I think that's another reason that I liked it. And they had similarly like the lipstick would become a weapon and the, like, the little compact would become something. And I feel like Sailor Moon, like she set the tone for that because it's like no people like and it was specifically like these girly powered items that were like, oh, this item is gonna like kick your ass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's true. They would be like lipstick, and it's like actually, it's this thing that like can
Oh, you
fight.
think this is lipstick?
Right.
Boom. And it's like with Sailor Moon, like the tiara power that she had, like the
Mm-hmm.
ultimate girly accessory. And that when she would whip it out and it would boomerang people when it worked. So I feel like there was some moments where like it would just fall. It did not work.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
it did
But
once or
I'm just
twice.
like,
Yeah.
I feel like those moments were just like, you're just like, yes, I'm gonna take my headband and do the same thing.
That's such a good point. I never made that connection before because, like you said, like she has like the tiara, and they have like these like wands and watches and like compacts and earrings, and they're like, oh
Mm.
no, we're gonna use all of these and like as weapons. And yeah, you're right. Totally Spies does that too. I think there is some inspiration going on there.
I'll
Yeah,
claim it.
I claim it too. I'm gonna look that up and see because I see it. I see it totally. Yeah. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, I was really sad too. She doesn't use the Luna pen as much in like later seasons, but
Right.
that first season was really fun. And yeah, you're right. Like when it's just three of them, it's really cool. And then I think Venus does a really good job of like balancing out the group and like kind of like bringing this experience, but not like overriding, anything and just being like, yeah, just chill. I'm here.
Right.
Vibing.
And I think they too like also like I love Jupiter. I didn't mention her yet, but I feel like
Mm-hmm.
she's one of the best. But I feel like too like the one thing that they do very well is like Serena Usagi. I call her both because like I grew up watching the dub, but then like when I rewatched it, I watched sub. But like when she's like the leader and they're just like, girl, you like a crybaby and you cry all the time and you're eating all the time, but we love and accept you as a leader. Like I love that Sailor Moon, like at least to my memory, like didn't really try and do that trope where it's like we're gonna fight and see who really is the leader of the group. Everyone kind of just accepted it and was like supportive. Whether, they butted heads with Usagi as a person, but not necessarily her as Sailor Moon being the leader of the group.
They kind of did a little bit later, but
See?
All
I'm gonna
good.
forget that happened.
Yeah, it's fine. I forget things too. I'd be like, oh yeah, that did happen. But yeah, no, but for the most part, you're right. Like, they did accept her as the leader of the group. And I think over time they saw, like, why she should be the leader. And, like, it's kind of cool to see them kind of have all this confidence in her as Sailor Moon. Like, you'll see when she comes on the scene, they're like, Sailor Moon is here. Like, they're, like, really excited and happy and, like, relieved. And it's really cool considering, like, with Serena / Usagi, they're like, she's late again.
They're like, girl, I'm so tired of you always crying.
Right. Like, what are you doing? But yeah, she definitely comes into that leadership role, and it's really cool to watch. We talked about a lot of Sailor Scouts just now, but which one is your favorite?
So it's so funny too because like since I've listened to other episodes of yours, like I always like see different scouts like in
Mm-hmm.
different lights. But like I was always that like girl, like I was Sailor Moon. Like Sailor Moon
Mm-hmm.
was me. I'm Sailor Moon. And not because she was the leader and I mean the show was named after her, but I just always like identified with her because I was like the baby and the crybaby and I love eating and, sleeping. And those are her main personality traits. But I feel like she's just the best. Like she definitely got her fault and a lot of people find her annoying and that's okay because a lot of people probably find me annoying and I just think like her story of just being that unlikely hero, like yeah, it could have been Sailor Venus because that was the original concept of everything. But instead of being the person that had it all together, it's like, hey, she doesn't have it all together, but she has heart. And it kind of reminds me of like Deku, where like a lot of people are like, they're from My Hero Academia, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, Deku's so annoying, and he's a crybaby." And it's like, yeah, that's the point. Like, you don't start off being the best hero ever. It's like you work towards it, and you learn about yourself, and your heart is what matters. So I feel like that's why Sailor Moon is just always my favorite.
Yeah, no, it's the same for me. I'm sure you know. I love Sailor Moon. She's my favorite too. And yeah, it's funny. Every time someone comes on the podcast, I'm always like, "Oh my god, I can totally see that. Like that is a really good reason to love that." Like Sailor Senshi, but Sailor Moon still remains to be my favorite. And yeah, when I watched My Hero Academia, that's exactly I think one of the reasons that drew me to the show because it had like so much heart in that same kind of like underdog, like he's not the best, but he's trying his best, and he's like, even though I think too, like with Sailor Moon and Deku, like they both aren't the strongest, and they both aren't like the best, but the fact that they show up knowing that to still
Mm-hmm.
fight, like, says so much to me.
Yeah, and it's also too like maybe we need a side podcast of the parallels because now that I'm
Yeah.
realizing this, like, and I think too with Deku, like a lot of people are like, well, why is it you? Like, why are you the one getting chosen? And when it could have been somebody clearly so much better, like Mirio, I guess was supposed to inherit All for One, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't make for a good story if you just get the strongest person ever. And Deku, because I'll be honest, I started My Hero Academia, and that first episode, I was like, canceled. I'm not watching this ever again. And then months later, I got back into it. But similarly, like a lot of people rag on him for the same reasons that they ragged on Sailor Moon, where it was like, oh, she's so emotional, she's always crying, and it's like, well, why is that a bad thing? Like, like of course we see Iron Man and we're used to all these superheroes that don't really are unfazed by the drama or the things that are going on, but it's like these things really do hurt and you get kind of like that human side, especially with Usagi. Like yeah, she's always crying a lot, whether it's in action or her personal life, but
Mm-hmm.
she feels things and that's what makes her a better hero because she was always, especially like when her friend and that was very like the first couple episodes when her friend falls in love with that evil guy.
Oh, and they're
And
fighting Molly.
yes, mom, and
Mm-hmm.
she tells her like, I know what it feels like to be in love. So like I understand where you're like, I feel for you. And I feel like that's what gives it heart. So when people are like, oh, they're just crybabies, I'm like, yes, they are crybabies. And that's what makes them strong because they have those human elements and emotions.
Yeah, it's so important to have because otherwise you just lose all your compassion for people. And That does not make a great hero. I don't know if you've been watching Captain America or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but as we've seen with the other Captain America.
I haven't, but I have with Twitter now. You feel like you watch the show even if you don't watch the show.
Right. And I don't think this is a spoiler, but obviously no one really likes the other Captain America. He lacks kind of that compassion aspect. And, I think that just shows, you need it to be a good hero.
Yeah. It's not always just strength.
Yeah, exactly. Because, it's not just strength. But so I want to talk a little bit about you. It's time for that. So what made you want to start the Wonder of Anime podcast? And how did that come about?
So, and I think you were on my podcast before it was the Wonder of Anime podcast. So I had actually started podcasting. Ooh, hold on, my memories. Who am I?
Wait,
I feel like quarantine has ruined my brain. I think
same.
I started podcasting. Wow, I think it's 5 years ago. Maybe I can't do the math. 18, 19. Yeah, 5 years ago. I started podcasting in 2017. And I actually started before that. I'm lying. That's 4 years. Excuse my math.
I'm bad at math too. I was going along with it. I was like, that's 5 years.
I was like, wait, no, that's not. So I actually started off as a blogger, and I was had the Wonder of Ivy, which, fun fact, a lot of people think my name is Ivy. It is not. Obviously it's Lisa. But I started off as a blog, the Wonder of Ivy, and then 2 years in, I was like, well, I love interviewing people. I love talking to people. Let me make it into a podcast. So from 2017 till last year, and even before I officially made the switch, I was interviewing people about just anybody, people in my local community, mostly, that were doing things that I thought were amazing or inspirational, like running a business. Maybe they also had a podcast. Maybe they were doing some type of venture that was cool, because I have a passion in storytelling, and I think everybody has a story that kind of deserves to be told. But I always liked anime, and I slowly was kind of introducing some anime stuff. And then I remember I had done a poll on my Instagram, and I was like, how'd you guys feel if I start talking about anime? And everybody said no. And I was like, oh no, this is not right. So I kind of was just like, oh, whatever. I just left it as a back burner. And then sometimes I would do anime type of stuff. And then at the end of summer of 2019, I was like, I don't know what it was. Somebody was talking about a con, and I was like, well, I've never gone to a con, and I've always wanted to go. And I'm like, well, I do this blog thing. Maybe I can use that as a chance to do press. So then I started going to cons as press, and I got the opportunity to interview Santi Wen, who's just so amazing. She's a voice actress, and she's been in Persona 5 and just a whole bunch of other stuff. And once I interviewed her, I kind of was like, well, this is really cool, this other side of anime. And then after that, 2020, I once coronavirus happened, and because I used to record my podcast in person, so I would record with people locally in person. I'm like, well, now that everything's remote, why don't I start reaching out to other anime people that I love online? And then I kind of just started going from there, and I realized I was just doing interviews with other podcasters, cosplayers, and then I was started to reach out to voice actors, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not even interviewing local people anymore. I was like, almost every single episode has been about anime. I don't know what I'm waiting for. I just need to just stop and just focus on anime, because really that's what I love, and that's what is inspiring me to keep motivating. So inspired me to keep going. I don't even speak English right now, but because of that, so that's kind of, I then officially, I think it was September, October, once I commissioned a new logo, I officially was like, all right, this is the Wonder of Anime podcast. And I'm just full leaning into it, because I was also doing YouTube videos about anime and stuff, and I was kind of keeping those things separate. And I'm like, actually, no, let's all put it together. So that's kind of where the name change and stuff occurred. But even still, interviewing voice actors or anime creatives, I just love storytelling, and I love anime and being able to be like, okay, so what is your story regarding anime? Like, what inspired you to start making anime content or being an anime voice actor? So I feel like that was like the marriage of everything that I would love and was doing, and then adding in that anime portion and being able to be like, I can do it all together. I don't know why I kept thinking I had to separate these things.
Yeah, you can do it all.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'm glad I wasn't thinking wrongly, because before I had in my notes the Wonder of Ivy podcast, and then I looked at your Twitter and I was like, oh, it's the Wonder of Anime, and I was like, I thought it was Wonder of Ivy, and I was like, I guess it's not. I'm just like thinking of the wrong thing, but there was a change. I feel a little bit better now.
Yes, and I still like kept like my website's still the Wonder of Ivy, and my socials are still the Wonder of Ivy, because the so the Wonder of Ivy, Ivy is for 4, like Roman numeral 4, and that's my life number. So yeah, and then Wonder, like I got that because of like Wonder Woman, and I think you should live your life with a sense of wonder. So I still kept that because I feel like that gives me the freedom in case like I do, like I have other things that I like sometimes too that are like maybe not anime related. Like once in a blue, I'll be like, oh my God, this album touched my life. So I still want to talk about that, or I still like I write personal essays sometimes. So I feel like I still kept that because I feel like I am the Wonder of Ivy, but then I'm like the Wonder of Anime is like the name of the podcast or the YouTube stuff that I do. But it does confuse people, and people are always like, "Yo, Ivy," and I'm like, "Who?" And I never like look because I don't think it's me.
Right. Oh man, yeah, that must get hard. Well,
All the
hopefully
time.
people will figure it out eventually. Also on your podcast, I have to talk about that you interviewed Robbie Damon, who is the voice of Tuxedo Mask and the Viz Media redub.
Yes,
How was that? Yeah.
That was like a dream come true because when I actually like immediately like when I was leaning to like message out to him, I didn't realize that he was the voice of Mamoru in the dub. I just knew the God of High School was happening, and that like I really liked the God of High School, and he was cast as Jin Mori, and I was like, oh my God, this is so awesome. And that's like what led me to reach out to him because he is of Native American descent, and my best friend is Native American. So I was like, oh my God, like this is him, and I was like, I'm gonna reach out to him and like interview him, and he accepted, and then we had the interview scheduled, but it didn't happen yet. And then they announced that he was going to be in Jujutsu Kaisen. So I was like freaking out because I love Jujutsu Kaisen and he's Megami, one of my favorite characters. And then like I did some prep prior, and then I was like I looked through like all his credits and stuff because he has credits too in like some Disney Channel shows, some Nickelodeon stuff, I think. And then I was like, wait a minute, he was in Sailor Moon. And I was like, and as I'm like Googling him and stuff, all these like interviews of him, and they always mention that he was in the Sailor Moon redub. And I knew that they had redubbed the Sailor Moon. I knew they realized they redubbed Sailor Moon, but I'm so used to the original cast, like the first people, that I never like listened to the redub or anything like that. I either know the original or the sub. So once I saw that, I was like, oh my God. But him as a person, like he is everything that you would want like Mamoru to be. Like he is so nice and fun. Like I was so scared to interview him, and when we were done interviewing, I was like, "Oh, this is one of my best friends." Like he is so sweet, and he's just the best. And I'm just like, this would have been the perfect Mamoru because he's just like so versatile and he has all these different elements, but he's really a sweetheart. And I'm like, I can't think of no one better to be this to be Mamoru. Like I can't think of another actor because Mamoru was also very funny. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, because we just think of him as useless or also really hot. So you don't think of Tuxedo Mask as like, oh, he's like funny, but Mamoru was hilarious. And he always had these jokes about Sailor Moon. He was always making fun of her and kind of like just being mean, but in like that, oh, I love you type of way. And I think like Robbie is just embodies that so much. So I'm just like, yes, you do it all. You're amazing.
Yeah, I follow him on Twitter from the podcast page, and every time I see him, like, he's just so cool. Like, he's just like the perfect tuxedo mask. Like, or Mamoru. Like, I want to see him in a live action.
I agree. And it's just like, and I think too, like, I don't really watch a lot of dub, but like obviously researching him and stuff, like I had like listened to him do the Megami and then do Jin Mori from the God of High School. And I'm like, you're so versatile. Like it's so obviously as an actor, but some people kind of get pigeonholed in the same type of roles. So it's very fun to see him go from like Mamoru to being Jim Mori, who's like this funny goofball, to then being Megami, who's like a very serious character. I'm just like, what don't you do? You're so dreamy.
He is. He really is. I also love the redub for just being so diverse too. Like he's like you said, he's Native American. The voice of Usagi is Asian, and the voice of Sailor Jupiter is Black. And I'm just like, this is lovely.
Yes, that's what
It
we
makes me
like
so
to
happy.
see.
Yeah, I love it so much. And yeah, it's so cool that you got to interview him. I definitely need to get him on this show at some point in life, but that's for the future.
It's happening.
Yeah,
It is happening.
it's happening. And then I do want to talk about your other venture too. So you started embroidery. Embroidering?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What made you get into that? And like, yeah, how did that start?
So, oh my God, I feel like I always have a backstory, but
Backstories
before
are good. I love a good backstory. Origin
before
story.
right, like it's like a whole little thing. But before I do
Yeah.
that, I did want to say like a big reason I got that Robbie interview was because of you and our interview.
Oh.
I cut this part out of our podcast, but me and you had like a really good conversation about like shooting my shot and not being afraid to interview people and that like and you gave me like a lot of professional tips and stuff and I was one so grateful for that, but like those were the skills that I used to book this interview. So I did just want to say that because and like I remember I was like I messaged you. I was like I did everything that you said and it worked. But it was I just want to thank you for that because that was like having you on and you like putting those gems. It was so amazing.
Yeah.
But it was just perfect. So now that that's out the way, the
I'm happy
embroidery.
it worked. Yeah.
Well, it's good because I feel like too, and I like I said, as I listen to your show, like
Mhm.
it's sometimes it feels like there's people that you want that do stuff you don't want the people. There's people that are doing things that you want to do, and sometimes it feels like you can't get there or you don't know how. So when somebody is like here's the secrets, here's the tips, like, and makes it so that it's not a secret, makes it like, yeah, just do X, Y, and Z. Like, that's really, um, that's really helpful. And that kind of does tie in, though, into the embroidery thing because I had been wanting to do like some type of anime merch. Like, I'm not like into like a business person. Like, I don't really like money or talking about money. Like, I'm not driven by money in any way at all. And that's just me personally. I really get uncomfortable with money and things like that. But I also like, shop at Hot Topic. And sometimes, things can be expensive and then you're not getting like good quality or everybody has the same thing that you're wearing. And last year, like during quarantine, I was like thinking like I order off AliExpress a lot. Like I know it's like, cheap items made. And then I was like realizing that a lot of people order on AliExpress and then make that their business. Like those like you see those ads for like those lamps and they're selling it for like $50, $60 and then you go on AliExpress and it's $10. And I
Yep.
was like, to me, like kudos to people who do that, like shout out to y'all, but to me, like that feels a little bit disingenuous. um and as somebody who works for their money, like I think it's like a slap in the face when you are selling these cheap products for an expensive amount of money. Like that's not worth it to me, and I feel like that's disrespectful to consumers. So this year I had kind of like the business idea was kind of like in the back of my head, and this year I've been like super into TikTok, embarrassingly, but whatever. I saw somebody doing embroidery, and it wasn't anime embroidery. It was just like regular embroidery. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is amazing. And then I kind of like landed like on embroidery TikTok. And I remember like it was like during a lunch break, and I told my husband, I was like, I think I want to try embroidery. And he was like, okay, cool. I showed him like the TikTok. He was like, yeah, I definitely think you can do that. So I did as much research as I could. I like was on embroidery TikTok and then YouTube. And then I was like, okay, I think I can do this. And then I kind of just like took a leap of faith, bought a machine, and the patterns that I use, I don't make them yet. I do plan to in the future, but you can just go on Etsy and like purchase the designs, and you're able to use them for items and stuff. So I was just like, alrighty, this is cool. And then I just started kind of posting my trials on like Instagram, and like people really loved them. So I was like, you know what, like this is meant to be. And then that's how it happened. And I just wanted stuff that people could wear, that they felt it was worth it to them. And it was unique in a sense where not a lot of people are wearing the same thing that you're wearing.
Yeah. First off, shout out to the supportive husband. I know that's like supposed to be a normal thing, but you know, we got the bars in hell, so
Yes,
shout out to the supportive husband.
for real. The bars below the ground.
Yeah. And yeah, that is so cool. Yeah, I love that like it was like through TikTok, and you know, you're like, I want to make this like something unique. This is super cool. I really like it. I'm like already waiting to get like my stuff, you know.
Yeah, I'm glad. And it's just something that, like, now that I'm in the embroidery world, like, a lot of people, like, businesses and stuff do embroidery. But I just think it's so unique because it's like this being on the back end of it, like, it is nothing like this. And of course, like, it's inspired stuff. Don't want none of the brands coming after me. Um, but it is something that, like, and this is kind of like a funny story. It didn't end up like, thankfully this didn't happen. So somebody that I locally purchased an item in support, and they had the item tracking number said delivered, and they were like, hey, are you able to check the tracking number? Like, I didn't get this and it says delivered. And I was like, oh, okay, I see this. And then he's like, damn, like, I think somebody stole it from my porch, because porch pirates nowadays.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, no worries, like, I'll make you another one, it's not a problem. And luckily they didn't, like, he did end up like getting it back. He like knocked on some neighbors' doors, and then magically later the package appeared. But I had said to him, I'm like, if somebody stole it, then who stole it, because I only made two other sweaters of those, and I'm the other only, like, it's me, somebody, and then you. So if somebody stole that, like, nobody else has that. And then that kind of made me think too, like, I have, like, that idea was like, wow, like, if you do order something from me, it is a limited number. And of course somebody else can buy the same design on Etsy and make it, but like, I know which one I made. So I know
Right.
the colors that I use, and I'm trying to make sure like I use stuff a little bit different than like other shops that I see. So I'm just like, wow, that is crazy. Like, if I make something, like, you're owning one of five or one of 10, because I haven't made that many of that one.
Yeah, it's like very custom. Super cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That is true. I never thought of it. It's like exclusive. So fun. And
It
I love
is.
to. Mhm.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I meant to mention this before, but it's so true about like once you figure out something you want to do and things just kind of come together, like when it's meant to be. Like I feel like everything just kind of clicks and it's just like boom, 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 like it's just going and rolling on its own almost.
Right. And
Just
it's funny you say that, because like, so I got the embroidery machine, and the first, because I'm on my second one, and this is like a testament to what you're saying. So the first one that I got was I knew it was like a starter one, and it was like $400, and the hoop size, which is like the size that you can embroider on, is only 4x4. So that's limited in how big the designs could be. Honestly, like, those designs could be like a chest, like to the chest or whatever. So I didn't even have the machine 2 full weeks, and it broke. And I like the brand that it is. It's like you got to go to a certified dealer to get it fixed, whatever. So I took it to a certified dealer, and they were like, you just got to return it. Like, they're like, it could be 6 to 8 weeks to get this fixed. And honestly, like, because I bought it off Amazon. So they're like, honestly, like, it may be something that's refurbished. Like, you don't even know or whatever. And then I was there and they were like, I was like, well, I'm already here. Like, let me look at some of the other like designs that the things that you have, the machines. And then they had this machine that was $1,500. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I no, it was, I think it was originally $1,500, but I got it for 1,000. And I was there at the shop, like, well, I'm just like, I just have to make this decision because, like, am I really gonna go full throttle with this business, or am I just kind of like playing around with it? And I made that decision where I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just gonna invest. And it hurt me because I'm like, I would not say like I'm cheap, but I'm very like, again, I'm not like a money person. So to me, like, it has to be worth it to me to spend my money. And at first, like, I spent the money and I got the bigger machine, and I was like, what did I do? Like, am I really making the right decision? And then I got home and I saw like the biggest potential, like the biggest designs that I could make. And I was like, you know what? Like, this was meant to be. Like, I was meant to break that first machine after I learned everything that I could. And then I got this new machine. And then like that next day I launched my shop. And then it's been good ever since.
Yeah, I feel like that first machine served its purpose, and now it seems like you're almost like on your way to making all your money back if you haven't already.
I did. I
Yeah.
did make what I spent on the machine and the like my startup material costs and stuff like that.
There you
Um
go.
but with that, like, I'm really grateful, tying it back to what we were saying of like people on TikTok being like, hey, this is because there was this black girl that I saw that she has it's not anime related, but she has an embroidery shop. And she literally was like, this is where I get these materials. This is where I get this. And because of that, like, I had a starting ground to where to start to. So whenever people ask me like, how do you do XYZ? I'm like, well, here's everything that I learned, because people sharing their resources like got me started. And then I could like help somebody else get started sharing those resources.
Yeah, pass it on. Yeah, I remember. I
Mhm.
think I watched one of your Instagram stories, and you like showed like that you buy the embroidery, like where you buy the embroidery patterns and like how the machine works. And I was just like, oh, this seems like doable. So like maybe I can do it. But I'm not. But it felt like I could, and I was just like, this is cool. Like, because I used to sew, way like over 10 years ago. And so I was just like, ooh, like maybe I can get back into this sewing world, this embroidery. Because I was just like, was fascinated by embroidery. And I was just like, this is impossible. I'm never going to do this. And then like when I saw your story, I was like, this actually seems very doable. Maybe I could do this.
Honestly, that you have some sewing background might be helpful. I sewed like when my grandma taught me when I was younger, but
Mm-hmm.
felt like I really went in blind. And I will say, at first, it really felt like I was never like, I'm like, oh my God, like, because it's so many moving parts, right? Like, you get the design, but you got to have the right type of fabric and the stabilizer, like all that stuff in the background. So at first, I was
Right.
like, what did I do? This is a grave mistake. And then, you learn, you go on YouTube, you mess up, you're like, okay, why did this mess up this way? And you like learn those tips and tricks. But it does feel like, even at first when I felt like, man, I'm not getting this, I'm like, well, so and so on TikTok can do it, so I can do it. I just got to keep going.
Yep, that's all. Just trial and error and keep it going.
Yes.
Oh man, that's cool. It's been so great to see like the shop and the podcast and the blog and everything just like doing really great. I'm just like super happy and
Thank
excited for you.
you. Yeah. And I would say it's a testament to like just following like what your passion is, right? Because like when I first started like doing the anime stuff, like I was like, well, it's clear that nobody here, like limiting myself to my town was like, because all my supporters prior were from my town, because people who know you listen to you. So
Mhm.
prior, I was like, I'm just doing this anime thing, and I'm not even gonna like, whatever. Like, I'm just doing it because I love it, and I don't care who's listening or who's watching or whatever. And since I've switched to doing anime, like, I have met so many amazing people online, you included, and like Phoenix from the anime team, and Naja from
Hmm.
the Blurdy Otome, and all these people that I genuinely consider friends. And I can say honestly, like since switching to anime, I have made like I have more followers, more listeners, more supporters than ever before because like I found other passionate people in those same lanes. And had I not taken that leap, like I would have been stuck with the same, 50 listeners. Not that they're like, shout out to them because they're amazing, but really expanding myself helped me expand my audience and find more like-minded people and a community, I would say, of Black and brown creators that are in the same lane as me. And that has been, I feel like, really supportive. So I feel like if anybody like listening is like doubting, or they're like, well, this is super niche, like I don't know, like this is the time, because the community, we're here, we're waiting for you.
Yeah, I think that's the thing for me too. Like ever since starting this podcast, I've connected so much with, like you said, the black and brown like nerd community, especially the anime community amongst women. It's just been so nice and fun, and just like makes me so happy that it exists.
Yes, and it's just like so many and even people that like for example Jackie of Adorned by Chi, like I
Hmm.
don't know her like personally, but like I've interacted with her on social media. Like I feel like, Destiny from Getting Animated, and like all these amazing women, and because we like are cool and we're in the same space, like we may have never talked, but I don't have an issue like tagging you in a tweet, or tweeting at you,
Hmm.
because I know like you're gonna respond, because like we're on that same thing. And it's like that community, like I've never felt that in another like fan or any other type of like other interest that I have. Like I've never felt that as I have felt like with this anime community.
Yeah, same for me completely. It's so lovely, so lovely.
And
Um,
even like people on your podcast, like I've started like following and interacting with people that you've had on the podcast, and they follow me now, and I'm just like, yes, this
Yay!
ecosystem.
Yes, just building a Mooney empire.
I'm here.
That's all. That's all it is. Slowly. Because I
Taking
feel like
over.
everyone who's been on the podcast has just been so amazing and just really great people. Jackie and Destiny, the two you mentioned, both of them have been on the podcast, and it's just, I don't know, everyone's just so nice and great, and I feel like it's just a testament to like how great Sailor Moon is and like all the things it taught us.
Yes, and then like I followed some of, like you've had some different artists
Hmm.
that you've had, and then I started following them and becoming fans of their work and seeing that Sailor Moon influence. And it's just like those shared values that we have from wanting to be these five girls who who
Yeah.
kicked ass. Like we all have the same sense of justice.
Yep. Exactly. It's great. It's really really great. But you create merch, but I want to know what's your favorite anime merch that you own.
Ooh, that is a good question. I
Mhm.
I own way too much. Like,
Same.
oh my God. I would say like hoodie, one, I'll give you one that I made and one that I haven't made. So one that I made is this Levi that I wear all the time, this Levi embroidered sweatshirt. And
Mhm.
it's my favorite because I almost quit embroidery because it was just the worst design. I've only made three, and that's it. I'm never making it again. Um, Merch, like I would say your merch, not just because I'm on your podcast. Like I wear it all the time just because it's really like comfortable and like the best. Like it's just so soft. And then, but like favorite, like oh my god, like this design is everything. And like I would say has to be the items that I got from Hypeland for the Inuyasha collab that they did. I
Mhm.
just like I just think it looks so unique, and Hypeland is just such a huge inspiration because they're just everything that they touch is like gold. It's just so good.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's just like the Hypeland, like the one shirt that I have is like the tie-dye Inuyasha one. And it's like my regular, like it combines something that I would wear. Like if it was just a tie-dye shirt with that design, like I would just wear that because it's dope. But then it also combines like my anime love, so it's like two pieces that like into one thing that really embody my style. So wearing merch, I think that is like my favorite.
Love it. Yeah, no, I still haven't got anything from Hype Land, but I really need to get on that. I'm like waiting for them to do a Sailor Moon collab something because I'm like, I know it's gonna happen one day. But their X Hunter stuff looks really cool, and their Yu Hakusho stuff looks cool. So and the Uniyasha stuff, so I might cave and get something from that collection. I'm almost like, oh, maybe I should get a rug.
Right. The rug, I want a rug from them so bad, but right now in my apartment, like I just do not have the space and my cat would just attack the rug. So
Yeah, that's the
I
other
would
thing.
like, but I definitely, and the one thing about Hypeland, like it made, like I've never seen Hunter x Hunter, I've never seen Naruto, but I want to watch so I could like wear the merch because it's just so cool.
Yeah. Hunter x Hunter is amazing, as you may or may not know. Created by the creator of Sailor Moon's husband. The creator of Sailor Moon's husband created Hunter
Yeah.
x Hunter, which is
And Yu
like
Yu
the
Hakusho, right?
and Yu
It's the same.
Hakusho. Yeah,
I used to love Yu Yu Hakusho.
it's so good. But yeah, and Hunter x Hunter is so great. And I never finished Naruto. Funny enough, but
I try.
also,
See, Hunter x Hunter. I've seen one episode 3 times, and every
mm,
single time, like I just can't get past that first episode. And I'm like, one day. But then I'm also confused because are there two, or was it one started and they picked it up years ago? Like, what is the timeline?
there are two. I think the one I forgot when the first one came out, but then they like kind of not rebooted it, but I guess rebooted it in 2011. Kind of like with Full Metal Alchemist, but you got like the original, you got Brotherhood. But yeah, so I think like the art style is like updated, but like the story's pretty much the same. But I know a lot of people. I prefer the 2011 version. I never watched the original version, but I didn't like the art that much, so I
So
just stick to the 2011 one.
maybe I'm starting with the wrong one then, because I didn't realize that there was two.
Mm.
And the one that I've been watching looks kind of old. So maybe I'm watching the wrong one. I'm a,
Oh, you might be, yeah.
I thought it was a continuation, because somebody said like they went on hold and then they came back. So maybe, you know what, I'm gonna try again because I feel like maybe I'm watching the older one. Now everything makes, thanks for explaining that, because now
All
it makes
right.
sense.
I'm happy. I hope that you like it if you ever have the chance to go through it, because it
A
is
lot
kind of
of my
long too.
faves, what? Like all my
Mhm.
faves love it. And I'm just like, am I
Yeah.
watching the same show? Like, please. I mean, I've also only watched one episode, so, but maybe I'm gonna try and find the 2011 one and give it another shot.
Yeah, I mean, I did watch it in college when I had a lot more patience.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know. I haven't rewatched it since, but I remember just really liking it. And it does have its slow moments, but I feel like it starts off good-ish. Yeah. I don't know. I kept with it for some
That's how I feel
reason.
with Naruto though, because Naruto came out and a lot of people watched it in high school, and I didn't have Cartoon Network at the time. So I never like got into Naruto, and I'm like, is it too late for me? And everybody's like, you tell somebody you're gonna watch Naruto, and they're like, all right, girl, go to this website. It's gonna tell you all the filler episodes. And I'm like, okay, if I gotta open up a resource to watch this show, right now may not be the time for me. My husband is like still watching it and he refuses to watch anything else because he's been on like this Naruto binge. And I'm just like, that's good enough for me right now. I could wait.
That sounds reasonable. That sounds reasonable. Yeah, I too had to open up the resource and it was just like, this is a lot of filler. I'll come back to this later. Like, I watch all of Naruto, but I haven't watched Naruto Shippuden. But apparently there's like 200 episodes of filler between the two, and I've been like, should I watch this? Everyone's telling me I don't need to, but I'm like, well, what if something's important? And I'm just like, I don't know.
Right. You
I
always
don't know.
second guess yours. I feel the same way with
Mm-hmm.
skipping fillers. I'm like, but what if there's that
Right. Like,
1 minute of canon that I missed?
yeah. Or like, what if it's like, I don't know, I want to be able to talk about it in its full, entirety. Be like, yeah, remember that filler that was bad? Like, I want to have an opinion on it.
Right.
But one day I'll get through Naruto.
I will too with you, maybe.
Yes. Okay. I feel good in that. Possibly one day, maybe. Yeah. So I think you kind of touched on this, but what advice would you have for someone either wants to start a podcast or wants to get into embroidery or an embroidery shop?
I would say just do it. Like, don't wait until you have everything figured out. Like, just get it and learn along the way. I locally, like I said, I started my podcast locally, so I would do like workshops. I have, if anybody wants to start a podcast, I have the PowerPoints of like I would run workshops, right, to show people how to start a podcast or how to start a blog. And like a lot of reasons that people don't do things is because they feel like they have to have I need to get the website ready. I need to get the hosting and this. And sometimes I feel like what you're really doing is making excuses for yourself so you don't meet up to the expectations that you want to meet. And when you start putting barriers, or I forget what, not barriers, like you start putting stipulations like to when you're going to start something, like unfortunately you're just never going to start it. So just do it. Like it doesn't matter. Like I was interviewing Delitza from, she's in the Horimiya dub,
Mm-hmm.
and she was telling me she was saying that she did a demo, she did it on her iPhone, and that was her first demo until she got like what she needed to make a like better demo. And it's like, yeah, just start it, just do it. Because if you're oh, I need to get the best microphone, and I need to have, like, I started on a SoundCloud plan that was like free until I reached the limit, and then I got the next level and the next level, and it's like, just do it. Because sometimes too, I know people who wanted to start podcasts literally have spent hundreds of dollars of equipment. There's not a podcast. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing. There's no podcast. They've never done anything. They've resold the equipment at this time. And it's just like, because had you started with the bare minimum, you would have realized if it was for you or not. So I definitely just, and even with embroidery, like embroidery is a little different because you do have to like get the machine and stuff, but just start, like just do it. And then you can always return stuff. Like Amazon, if it's within 2 weeks, you could return it, no questions asked, full refund. Like just in, but if you don't try, you're never gonna know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like you said, like maybe you start with a $400 machine and not the $1,500 one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or I'm sure
And
there's
it's even
maybe some cheaper
cheaper.
ones. Yeah. Exactly. Or maybe you start sewing and see if you like that. So get a sewing machine
Absolutely.
for
But if you just keep making
150.
excuses, like you're just thinking of ways to give yourself an out without even trying.
I love that. It's so true. It's so, so true. And that's how you can tell when something, like I said, something you really want to do or something you're kind of like, you think you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, the time has come. Just like Sailor Moon had the Sailor Moon Says phrase at the end of every episode, what would your phrase be? So, Sailor Lisa says.
See, this is one of those questions where I was like, I've been waiting for this moment, and then I'm blank. Um, I'm trying to think. I'm like, do I have catchphrases?
Oh.
This is good, but I think I would say, Sailor Lisa says, trust the process. Um, I just feel like so many times, like in our journeys, or regardless, creative, your personal life, like it's hard to trust things that we don't know or that we can't see. But sometimes you work and you work and you're not seeing the fruits of it, and then you give up. And maybe if you worked a little bit more, you would have gotten to the point that you want to get. And as much as we want to get to the end goal, the true growth happens along the way. So it's like trust the process, because that's what's going to lead you to where you want to be. But in that process is where you learn and grow.
I love it. As always, that is so great. And I feel like you dropped so many gems throughout this episode too, so everything was so great.
Yay! I love that I'm in this position.
Yeah.
Because I'm always getting gems dropped on me. So I'm glad that I can reciprocate.
You dropping gems now.
Sprinkle, sprinkle.
Yeah. Oh, and then what's next for you, and where can people find you?
So people can find me on social media at The Wonder of Ivy. That's Instagram, Twitter. People still use Facebook. It's on there too. My embroidery shop, I have the link in like my link tree, but if you want to go directly to it, is thewonderofanimeShop.com. And what's next for me? I definitely am overall working on getting into a routine so I can start making YouTube videos again. But and getting my podcast back on a consistent schedule. But I will say something that I am, and I've already like announced this, is I'm working on a Clamp reread series. I am a huge lover of Clamp. They are the masterminds behind Cardcaptor Sakura, Sailor Moon, and for those who don't follow me, I like have been obsessed with them. I own almost every single thing that they've ever made. So I started a series where I will be rereading all of the manga from their first series to their current series and then doing a YouTube review about it. So I've started with RG Veda and I'm taking my time because I feel like when I was younger I used to just brush through manga and miss everything, and I really want to like dissect and analyze, especially because a lot of people don't know, but like Clamp was doing like pro LGBTQ plus stuff like without realizing it, without saying like this is what we're doing, like back in the day. Like they have like non-binary characters, they have characters who were fluid in their sexuality or in their identity, and that's something that I really want to highlight. And they do have some problematic stuff that I'll get into too, but yeah, that's what I'm really like going to be doing my main focus on is this Clamp reread series.
Oh, that sounds so cool. I will definitely be tuning into that because I also love Clamp and just everything that they represent. It's just like badass women creating manga and super cool.
Yes. And be not like as I'm plugging somebody else, but I think a really good precursor, Beyond the Bot. I think they used to be Getting the Robot, but now they're Beyond the Bot. Crystal, who you've had on your podcast, and I love her. She's amazing, and she also loves Clamp, and she did like a 20-minute Clamp video on their Beyond the Bot YouTube channel. And I think that's a great precursor to the series that I will be doing because she dives into a lot of like how they have broken out of the mold of stereotypically like shoujo, shonen, anime, and manga. And she just like did this whole deep dive. So I highly recommend if you're interested in Clamp, like anybody listening, or even if you're not, but you kind of heard about them, definitely check out that video because it does give a lot of really good information as to like why they are the way that they are, or they make those series, how they make them.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll definitely check that out because I love their stuff. They are super cool. Also, I'm not sure if Clamp did Sailor Moon, but you might be right. I'm trying to like remember. But I know there's probably some overlap though for sure. But yeah, they've done a lot though.
I think do you mean like Clamp did Sailor Moon or Beyond the Bot?
Clamp.
They, and that's the thing too, they've also like drawn a lot of like other series and stuff. It's funny that you say that. Do you ever see that meme and they're like Sailor Moon, the original series, and they put together like all the artists, like because you know they had different artists, different episodes, and they put together like all the different art styles.
I haven't seen that. Man, I need to look for that.
I'll send it to you because you once you like look at it, you do recognize like, oh, I definitely know because there's like a male artist. There's a male artist. He has a lot of. He's done a majority of Sailor Moon episodes, and the way he draws Sailor Moon compared to all the other artists is so. I think that's the one that most of us remember. And until they put them side by side, you don't really realize how different Sailor Moon looks, like episode to episode.
Yeah, I didn't realize it until much later too, when people started pointing out different artists, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, that does look different from this." But yeah, so funny.
I will send that to you.
Please do. Yeah, there's definitely overlap, I'm sure. But I was just like not sure. But yeah, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for having. This is my life's dream. Now I can go back to running the Sailor Moon fan club.
Thank you. Yes, and I will definitely be putting in my order whenever those Sailor Moon items go up.
Yes, soon.
Yay! And then once again, I'm Victoria L. Johnson. You can find me at Miss Old School. It's Old School with a K on Twitter and Instagram. And you can find the podcast at Moonies Club on Twitter and Moonies_Club on Instagram. And we also have merch at mooniesclub.com. So if you want some merch, some Sailor Moon inspired merch, you can go and check that out. Yeah. Thanks, Lisa, again.
Thanks.
Bye, Moonies.